If you can hear my voice, clap twice. If you can hear my voice, clap 3 times. Okay. I think we've gained some control over the room, which is a good thing. Now, what was demonstrated during our working lunch was content delivered by an authoritative individual. And part of what Julie was speaking about was what a human can do that a computer cannot. And if you consider the great benefit that humans bring to any activity, it is the benefit of discernment. When you consider that word, discern, when it's used as a verb, it means to perceive or to fully understand. And the prefix in that word, D-I-S, that prefix has a meaning that means to take apart, like disconnect, dismember. And when you strive to discern something and fully understand it, you're taking something apart so you can fully comprehend what's involved. And what Julie did up here was to take apart this role of a dispatcher from many different faculties so we can see it easily. Now, if you had the big dictionary in front of you and you were at the letter D, so we could study the word discern for Julie, and then you went a little further to the letter R. And if you were in that dictionary and you found R and you found the word relentless, in the space for the word relentless, you would see a picture of Kirk King. Because Kirk King is an individual who is relentless, and that if you were to go a little farther, go to the letter T and find the word tenacious, you would see a different photograph of Kirk King. Relentless and tenacious are words that go together. It means to never give up, to keep on going no matter what. And what I've learned about Kirk King is he is a person who helps other people. He and I have met at numerous conferences, and Kirk advised me and said, Steve, I'm going to inform you about what it is I do. I'm going to send you some of my content. And sure enough, he was relentless. He follows up. It is now your responsibility during Kirk's presentation to focus, pay attention, ask questions, and get all the value that you can get. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirk King.
Thank you very much. As Steve just introduced myself, my name is Kirk King, and I'm just honored to be here. I mean, Joe is such a pillar in this industry, and regarded so highly. And when Joe called and invited me to come here, I was just blown away. I'm like, of course. I don't even think it took a half a second before I said yes, I'd be there. And I just want to tell you guys a little bit about myself, because business is business, but business is also personal. I grew up in a blue-collar family. My dad worked at General Motors on the assembly line. We moved, I grew up in the city of Pontiac, which is kind of a little bit of a rundown area. We moved to the suburb of Pontiac right around my early teenage years, and then I graduated from high school. And when I graduated from high school, I went to work in a factory also. Followed my dad's footsteps. I went to work as a press operator, so I'd hit the buttons, put big sheets of steel in and out. It was great motivation to stay in college. So I continued to pay my own way through college, and I eventually got a computer-aided engineering degree. And about the same time, I started dating my wife. And I used to tease my wife. I used to tell her, you need to get a real job. She was working as a waitress, going to school also. And she got her first full-time office job at a company called Continuity Programs. This was when she was 18 years old or something. So Both my wife and I continue to work and go to school. I eventually got my bachelor's degree in engineering. My wife got her bachelor's degree in accounting. And then after I got my bachelor's degree in engineering, I went to work for a company called BorgWarner. It's a pretty big known company. And in 10 years, I was at BorgWarner, a little over 10 years. I went from being like the entry-level sales guy to being responsible for sales for North America and Europe. And it was a really big responsibility and a job I loved. And in June of 2010, I resigned from BorgWarner and I bought Continuing Programs. So the joke internally is my wife loved the company so much that I bought it for her. So, but my wife and I, we work great. She's a CFO. I eventually got my MBA while I was at BorgWarner. And I just want to make sure that everybody in here gets a lot of value. Every year we buy Profile America information sheets, industry sheets. And I included some of those industry critical success factors on paperwork that I handed out for everybody. And on the last page of the handout that I gave you, it'll show 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day plan. And everybody in here is different. Everybody, you guys have probably different levels of marketing. But I want you guys to take at least a couple points for the 30, 60, and 90-day out of this presentation. And understand that I'm trying to cover a lot of content, but I'm going to do it at a 100-foot view. So we're not going to get into every single detail, but I want to make sure that you guys understand what's going on in marketing today. Now, to make sure you guys are still awake, let's hear some of the best marketed companies globally. Come on. Coca-Cola? McDonald's? Okay, Taco Bell? Walmart, yeah. So you guys are all correct. You guys are all correct. There's a lot of big names up there. And what I want you guys to notice is that all of these companies have a logo. Okay? A logo is extremely important because you may have the coolest name of your service-based business, but without a logo, people have a hard time identifying. So if you don't have a logo, that's something you should write down on that back plan. Make sure you have a distinct logo, something that sticks out. Okay? The other thing about these companies is, even though I did go after Bank of America, none of these companies are my customer, right? So these guys market a lot different than service-based companies because they have billions of dollars in sales and they spend billions of dollars in marketing. And when you invest billions in marketing, the more you invest in marketing, the more your sales should go up. So if you're spending money today in marketing and you cannot relate your marketing dollars to sales increase, you really need to review the marketing that you're investing in. Because marketing should be simple, fundamental, and should have results. Okay? There's two areas that everybody should be focused on. Everybody in this room is doing some kind of service business. Okay? And if you build brand equity, where are you from, sir?
British Columbia.
British Columbia. If everybody in Michigan knew about your company, would it do you any good?
No.
No. So when you're investing in marketing to build brand equity, try to do it as pinpoint as possible to your service area. Otherwise, you're wasting money. It doesn't make sense to build your brand in other areas that you can't service. And when you're trying to grow your business, you've got to have continuously leads coming in. These leads have to be, they're going to be of various qualities, right? Because we all know every lead's not created equal. But you need to have leads coming in if you're trying to grow your business. So I don't recommend that you spend a penny on marketing unless it's doing one of these two things. Okay? The next thing is, you all remember past marketing experiences, right? This was pretty simple to do marketing in the past. You paid a lot for yellow pages, you put some logos on your van, some branding on your van, and that was as simple as it was. And we know that that doesn't work anymore, okay? Now, if anybody's still investing in yellow pages, I got great news for you. You're one of the few. But I also will show you statistically if customers are finding you via yellow pages in my presentation here. So when you're talking about building brand equity, understand you're in the outside circle. Okay? You're in the outside circle. There's lots of ways to build brand equity. And you have to determine which way that you're going to focus on building your brand equity. What is the easiest way to build your brand equity, the least expensive way? You know, cables offers great services. You can actually pinpoint it down to a very specific area. And radio too. But if the radio station covers the entire state and you only cover a few zip codes, it's kind of a waste of money. So you have to make your own decisions on what kind of noise marketing you do. That's what we call it in marketing, is noise. But it's very important that you understand that those are the two focus areas. I have great resources in the community, and they can analyze people's marketing budget, just like we can, down to the fraction of a percentage. And I'll tell you, basic gut, it needs to be about 50-50. Don't overcomplicate things, keep it simple. It needs to literally be about 50% for building brand equity and 50% for lead generation. And the only way to generate leads is with direct marketing. Now, every business, service business or every business, has a cost to get a new customer. So as you can imagine, if your cost is $10 to get a new customer, and it costs you $50 to retain the customer, you're going to take an approach where you just care about getting new customers. If it costs you a lot of money to get a new customer, and it requires very little to maintain that customer, then you're going to put together a strategy where you're investing a certain amount of your marketing budget to acquire new customers and a small percentage to retain customers. And just to kind of put this in perspective, you guys can do this math on your own, based on your own company. If you live in a real rural area, you're probably at least at $200 to get a new customer. If you're in a really dense area, like this area in California, it's probably closer to $500 to get a new customer. So just understand those are the basics. Now, there's ways to build brand equity. I'm sorry about the light. But again, we talked about distinct logos. It's very important. Business cards. How many of you guys have business cards for everyone in your company? Is there anybody else that does? No? Just a few. That's a great thing to put down on your 30-day task. Literally, business cards are like $10 for 500. On the back of those business cards, you should say, if you're a friend of this person, let us know so you can save 10%. It's like keeping the money in the family. The person who works for you is going to hand it out to all their friends and family, and those people are going to call you to do business. It's the cheapest way to do marketing. Vehicle branding, still very important. If anybody doesn't put vehicle branding on your vans, let me know. I would invest for you to put my company's branding on your van, and you can drive it around for me. Okay? So, prospecting mailers is a very expensive way to build brand equity, but you can do it if you do it strategically, like a scalpel. And then website and social media is extremely important. I know Patrick talked about this earlier. He got into a lot of details. We're going to stay at a 1,000-foot view, but I am going to spend a lot of time talking about websites, even though we don't do anything with websites. Okay? The key is consistent message. You know, you can't have discombobulated marketing because it's almost impossible to build brand equity if you're all over the map, right? So you want to be consistent like the McDonald's hamburger, right? Now, social media, great news. It's free. I mean, literally, other than like 10 minutes a day for you guys to do a little bit of social media content, it's free. The bad news is it doesn't generate a lot of leads. However, I can guarantee you that if you don't partake in social media, at least a little bit, people will come to your website and they will wonder what is wrong with you. It just makes your job harder nowadays because you have to actually cover all these different marketing areas. Angie's List, we've been in the industry for almost 20 years. We've been working with contractors. First home improvement contractor was in '94. First heating, cooling, mechanical, electrical contractor that we started working with was in 2001. When these guys first started with us, we never saw the word Angie's List. About 9% of all surveys come back say Angie's List. I also believe that Angie's List is pretty much free to you guys. It just takes a little bit of maintenance. So I definitely recommend that as we see the trend going up, get involved with Angie's List.